Today, we are going to have an awesome discussion on a few simple tips and strategies that you can use and implement into your daily lives to finally be fit, finally be healthy, and just keep your health and wellness goals in check in 2023. We're going to go over 11 different things and just ultimately get you the best that you can be. So let's go ahead and jump right in. And I will say, I would highly recommend grabbing a piece of paper, grabbing something to write these down. It's going to greatly increase the chances of your weight loss goals improving, your fitness goals improving, anything that you want to do with your health and body. The goals, once you actually put down some of these tips into paper and put them in to your life, writing them down, there's just something about it that makes it a little more permanent and more real. So let's go ahead and jump right in. The first thing that I need to talk about when it comes to improving your health and wellness, improving your fitness in 2023 is social media. And unfortunately, social media leads to one huge bad thing being comparison. So if I asked you right now, who uses social media? Do you use social media? Do you even read the news? Any type of social media outlet has a lot of different sources of input. So there's people posting pictures of themselves, there's people posting videos of what they're doing, they may be posting stuff about what their friends are doing. So this seems kind of trivial at face value, but over time, you realize that a lot of these things that people are posting leads to comparison. And this is no different in regards to trying to be the healthiest and the fittest we can be in our daily lives. So you might see somebody who is able to run a 5K, no problem. You might be able to see somebody who can move upstairs easier than you, no problem. And this starts to weigh on you over time. This starts to make you think that maybe you're less of a person. It kind of comes more towards your emotional capacity, other than the fact that it's just simple. It is what it is. That person's a little bit more fitter than you. Okay, so what can you do about it? So this is kind of the one of the big things that I recommend for people to do is just to either delete social media entirely or to actually just decrease their social media use. I have basically gone on a almost complete social media purge over the last few years, and it's helped greatly in my mental health capacity. I didn't do it specifically to help the comparison of health and fitness, but I did do it because there was just a lot of negativity and kind of garbage that I didn't want in my life. So, some better things that you can do instead of social media. Obviously, we can limit use, and you can kind of maybe potentially even make a separate account or a separate entity that you can use for specific reasons, as in checking on your family, checking on our friends, but following all those news pages of these people doing really crazy things with their fitness and health, those aren't really going to make you feel good. If you're using it to keep in touch with your friends and family, that's great. But if it's anything more than that, it can really, really lead to some negative consequences long term, mainly off your self esteem. One of the other things that I do, try to do as much in my life as possible, is to follow positivity. And basically, what this means is that there are a lot of negative sources of social media. So, a negative source of social media when it comes to fitness and health might be somebody just posting pictures of their abs or posting pictures of them losing a bunch of weight and them making it look so easy and they have a perfect body. And that seems good. Maybe it'll motivate you a little bit, but a lot of people think they need to look like that today, not realizing that these people have been doing it for years. They're genetically gifted, and honestly, they might be lying. They might have used some steroids. They might have used some Photoshop, all these different things that go on social media. People lie a lot. So instead of that, one of the things that I do is try to follow positivity. So it would be like following people who are uplifting about your personal life and your health and fitness. So somebody who posts fitness motivation, as in like, you can do this today, or you messed up on the gym routine, you can get back up and keep trying. Um, I listen to a lot of people who try to talk about behavior change and just doing what you can. focusing on what's in your control to do it. So social media kind of can cause some friction. Highly recommend to either delete or limit your social media use moving into the new year. Another huge issue that often happens with people is with this idea of the all or nothing mentality. And what is the all or nothing mentality? The all or nothing mentality is basically when somebody thinks that they need to go all in on changing an aspect of their life. So maybe for health and fitness, they need to go all in on dieting so they can lose a bunch of weight. If they don't go all in, basically they think that all of their energy and all of their time is useless. So if they're not doing 100% everything they need to do to lose weight, it's not really worth the time. On the flip side, the same person might think that since they are spending all that energy and effort, if they don't match that same level of energy and effort, they think it's completely useless. And this is the all or nothing mentality. It's literally you got to do everything or it's nothing. This happens so often with health and fitness, where you think of, maybe yourself, for example, you started a health routine, you started a workout program, you started a diet, and everything was going good 5 days in, et cetera, et cetera. One day, a slip up happens, you fall off. What happens next? People often get down on themselves. They may start talking to themselves and saying that they're a failure. They think they literally messed everything up, even though in reality, they didn't. And unfortunately, a lot of people just give up completely at this point, which is a huge, huge issue because that one bad day that they had is largely irrelevant. As you'll see when I continue to move into this podcast, we'll talk about the idea of consistency. And consistency is largely the biggest thing that will lead you towards your health goals, your fitness goals, everything. It's the person who can do it consistently day in and day out. Understand that slip ups happen, but once those slip ups happen, just get back on the wagon, get back on the train. It doesn't matter. The analogy I like to use is kind of along the lines of the one bad day. So who's better off? Somebody who is perfect for a month, as in they don't miss workout, they don't mess up anything on their diet, they don't mess up literally anything on their healthy lifestyle. But then after that, they go back to their normal lifestyle. So 1 month of the year they're good, but the other 12 months they're nothing. Or somebody who is pretty good most of the time, is in maybe they're eating good on their diet, they're following the plan, but every 6 days, every 7 days, maybe just once a week, they have a little bit of an issue. I'm not saying a full blown binge, but maybe they can't work out as much as they want to, or they overeat on cookies and sweets a little bit. Who's going to be better off? The person who spent a month being perfect, or the person who's almost perfect but not completely perfect most of the year? It's of course going to be that person who's mainly more perfect consistently. So that's going to be this reoccurring theme: consistency beats intensity. Consistency beats intensity. And in addition to this, we need to talk about why we're doing this and the importance of your why. And this is one of, at least in my mind, one of the biggest things that people need to understand when they're getting into their health and fitness journey is, why did you start? Literally, why are you here? Why are you even watching this video? Um, do you want to improve your health? Do you want to improve your body composition? Do you want to lose some weight? Do you want to gain some strength? More energy, less pain? What is driving you? What is the sole source of motivation? And it needs to be very, very specific to your exact life. And this is where, if we go back to social media, like we talked about at the beginning of the podcast, people will often see other people's whys or reasons that they got into fitness or health and living a healthier lifestyle, and they will take those for themselves. And I'm not saying you can't take somebody's why. A lot of people do. Weight loss is a common example. A lot of people, their why of why they started fitness is to lose some weight. But it needs to be very specific to yourself. And when I say that, I mean you need to make it emotional. You need to make it deep into, why does weight loss matter? Not just why am I getting into fitness being weight loss, but why does weight loss matter to me? Or why does gaining strength matter to me? That's where you can really find some deep emotional connection to what you really want for yourself. So, a way to think about this is um, my why could be potentially I want to lose 10 pounds. So that's, why I'm getting into fitness. But why do I want to lose 10 pounds? Because I want to fit into a size large shirt. And I've never been able to do that. That's one example. Another example could be somebody who's trying to gain some strength. Let's talk about somebody who's maybe an older adult, for example, and they don't have the strength to get up and out of the chair. So their why to get into fitness could be I want to get into fitness to gain some strength, but not just gain some strength. I want to be able to gain some strength to get out of a chair independently and move better through my daily life. That is a powerful why. Having a very concise why and knowing exactly why you're doing it is a great source of motivation. I almost call it endless motivation because when you're feeling down, when you're feeling kind of on your goals, reminding yourself of those specific things can make a huge, huge impact. And although I don't always like to scare myself into being fitter and healthier, I think sometimes it's a good source of motivation to scare yourself of, if I don't do this thing, it's going to go completely back on the why. So if I don't try to lose weight, guess what? I'm never going to fit into that size large shirt that I just talked about. If I never go into the gym to gain some strength, I'm never going to be able to get out of that chair like I want to and be independent in my life. So knowing your why is incredibly important. Ask yourself right now, what is your why? But more importantly, why do you want that why? So it's a double why. It's like a little kid constantly asking questions. Uh, Okay, so in addition to that, if you're liking the video so far, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. We're going to help you in 2023 improve your life to the best of your ability in fitness and health, give you all the tools that you need, regardless of where you're at. So the next thing that you really need to do is set the bar low. And this idea of starting very, very small when you're first starting to have a habit basically in your life. I always tell people to start much lower than they think. So we're going to go to weight loss. We're going to use weight loss as an example because a lot of people usually want to monitor or manage their weight. Not everyone, but you can apply this to any aspect of fitness and health. Um, let's use a weight loss example. So say somebody wants to lose 10 pounds in their life. Their goal is to lose 10 pounds, maybe in the new year, maybe whenever, for a wedding or something. So instead of 10 pounds, I'd highly recommend maybe to try to do less, half, 5 pounds. So you're already kind of lowering the expectations. And you might be thinking, why are you doing this? You're like almost setting yourself up to failure, or you're setting yourself up to not achieve your goals. No, it's just the fact that most people, when they first start their goal setting, they have so much motivation and energy at the beginning that their motivation and energy is matching that really big end goal, that really big end goal. And as you'll see shortly, the end goal or what we're trying to actually achieve doesn't really matter. And we'll address that kind of in the next session. But so, kind of making that goal setting a little bit easier, making it a little more doable, maybe just cutting in a half, example, 10 pounds down to 5 pounds for my goal weight loss. Um, One of the reasons we're doing this is to try to set the barriers low. So it gives you less anxiety about completing the actual goal. So if you are 3 months into your fat loss journey or 3 months into your gym journey and you're not gaining any strength, you're not gaining any bit of fitness, you're not losing weight, and your goal was to hit a certain amount of weight loss by that 3 months, you might be saying to yourself, I'm a failure. This is completely useless. Nothing's working. And if you would have just set your goal, which again, remind you, is arbitrary. Usually we pick these goals out of just nowhere, just something that sounds good. If you set your goal a little bit smaller, you may have hit your goal. And what happens when you hit your goal? Your brain, it tells you, hey, you did good. You did good. So kind of setting it initially just to build some momentum is huge because once you build that initial momentum, hitting those small goals, they're going to start becoming more ingrained into a habit. And as you can keep building momentum, it's going to show you my hard work's paying off. It is worth it. And what we were talking about in the next in this session was goals not being too important. So Um, let's talk behaviors versus goals and behaviors versus goals. So, why would I say that a goal isn't important? We just talked about goals in the previous section, but why isn't a goal really important? Another question to ask is what leads to your goals? So let's use fitness and health, for example. So, why isn't the goal of losing 10 pounds really important? Well, it is important because it gives us a little bit of a trajectory of where we're going. We know we need to do actions that will lead us to that, but that's what we need to focus on. We need to focus on those specific actions and those daily behaviors that are actually going to lead you to that goal. So just focusing on, I want to lose weight, lose weight, lose weight, and I'm going to try these things and lose weight, lose weight. You're so hyper focused on the goal that you're not thinking of all the daily behaviors that will lead you to that goal. The goal is a very good guide, as we just discussed, and will kind of mold your different behaviors towards what your goal is going to be. But at the end of the day, that goal is just a landmark. It's just something to push towards. Um, we'll give another example of strength. So maybe somebody's goal is to be able to bench press their body weight by the end of the year or by the end of the month, what have you. Instead of that having the big goal, know that getting a stronger bench press, that's really what we're trying to do. You know, you have that tangible number, but at the end of the day, we need to do things that will help to get us to that bench press. So we need to eat enough protein. We need to get enough sleep so we can recover. We need to be working out 3 to 4 times a week. We need to be strengthening our muscles, challenging ourselves. Those are 4 actionable things that you can do almost every single day that are going to lead you towards that health and fitness goal. So super huge key there. So the weight loss goal, an example for weight loss, drinking water instead of soda. That's something you can do every single day. That's a behavior that will lead you towards that goal. Eating veggies at every single meal. 30-minute walk 5 times a week. These are all things that you can encompass every single day moving you towards that goal. The goal is a landmark, it's not the actual thing, because once you hit that thing, you're just going to start wanting more. So instead, we're trying to build those habits, just like we talked about in the last one, building those small habits specifically that you can do day in, day out, build some momentum, and ultimately give you some good motivation moving forward. Another interesting way to look at this is that if you do those behaviors daily, the weight loss almost comes naturally in a sense. So it's almost impossible for weight loss not to happen if you are eating vegetables at every meal, if you are working out 30-minute walk 5 times a week, if you are drinking water instead of soda, if you are limiting your portions of desserts, if you are doing all these daily behaviors, it's almost impossible for you to not lose 10 pounds. So it's kind of an interesting mindset to look at, especially when you're trying to improve your health and fitness uh, as well. So again, please like and subscribe if this video is giving you some value. I greatly appreciate it. And the next portion that we need to talk about to improve your health and fitness in 2023 and keep you moving in the right direction is this idea of pacing. And pacing matters incredibly. And I talked about this initially earlier, how when people first start out in any health and wellness goal, there's usually so much motivation at the beginning. They want to push themselves to the limit. They want to increase all these different health aspects and capabilities. They want to optimize everything. I want to do everything today. I want results today. And this is great because it gets people to change. And uh, getting people to change and actually do an action is very, very tough. But unfortunately, this motivation does not last. You will not be always motivated to work out. You will not always be motivated to eat healthy. So instead, we need to kind of reframe it of it's a long race. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Losing weight is a marathon, not a sprint. Being healthier, gaining strength, all these different things is a marathon, not a sprint. Uh, basically, one of the things I want you to consider is that you can't use your motivation that you have right now today to fuel yourself in a month where you're not going to be motivated. And that might seem weird to people. They're thinking like, "Oh no, I've got this. I'm doing it. I'm changing everything. But that's not how your mind works. That's not how your biology works. Dopamine is extremely related to motivation and drive. And you can have a lot of motivation and drive, but at some point that baseline is going to be brought back down. And once that baseline is going to be brought back down, you need something to lean onto, which is those behaviors we talked about in the previous section. Eating vegetables at every meal, drinking water at every meal, working out consistently, getting enough sleep, all these different things, and being consistent with them, being consistent day in and day out, because motivation does not overbeat or doesn't beat out consistency. You can be motivated and be extremely vigorous on your activities and your health pursuing goals and your health promoting goals, but if you burn out after a week, 2 weeks of it, guess who's going to be healthier? That person who dialed back a little bit. They put some of that motivation in their back pocket for when they actually need it later down the road, and instead they found things they can be consistent to. So one way to think about this too, I like doing these questions, is who will achieve their health goals? Who will lose some weight? Who will be healthier? Who will be fitter? Somebody who pushes hard, say they do it for 2 weeks. They push hard, they lose a lot of weight, they lose way more than they thought, but then it gets kind of hard. They realize, oh man, I'm neglecting a lot of aspects of my life that I really like. I like having a little bit of cake at parties. I like having dessert. I don't know if I can do this forever. They burn out and they stop. Or would somebody who's consistent and slips up every now and again, but for the most part, most days of the year, they're fine. Guess what? That person who's more consistent and maybe a little less anxious and intense at the beginning of this is going to beat out that other person long term, because when we're thinking about making health and wellness changes for our lives, these are changes that we need for literally the rest of your lives, right? You're not trying to be fit for 1 month or 2 weeks, etc. You're trying to be fit for the rest of your life. So why are you doing behaviors that are leading you towards being fit for only a couple weeks and burning out? That's a huge way to think about it. So the next part of this is embracing pivots and being flexible on changing your goals, your fitness and health goals, when failure happens. And as we'll discuss shortly, we need to reframe this idea of failure being a bad thing. But embracing pivots and being flexible to change your health and fitness goals as it comes up. And kind of this idea is along the lines of setting a goal that's too hard. So a lot of us, as I discussed earlier in the podcast, will set goals with good intention. The intention is to lose weight. The intention is to gain some strength. The intention is all good things, but we almost set ourselves up for failure at the beginning because we set our goals too hard. We really overestimate what we can do because, as we discussed, that motivation is very, very high. So what happens when we do this? A lot of people end up quitting, unfortunately. They either quit, or we're actually going to talk about three things, is they'll quit, they'll keep pushing, which may lead to burnout and ultimately quitting, or they're pivoting and they're resetting. And the last one is the most crucial one into achieving your health and fitness goals long term. So instead of quitting once you get to those hard times in your goal setting, we just need to think about pivoting, resetting. What does that mean? So 1 month in, 2 months in, 3 months into losing some weight, 3 months into dieting, you may think to yourself, okay, I've got the hang of this. This is pretty easy and I want to do something else. Or you may think the exact opposite. 1 to 2 to 3 months in, this is way too hard for me and I want to do something else. And that's the key thing there, is to recognize that it's okay to change. It's okay to change your goals. It's okay to change your behaviors and everything that goes into it, and pivot into something else. So maybe setting a goal of 10 pounds was too hard for you. So you might need to pivot and instead lower the bar a little bit to 5 pounds, or you might need to change your goals completely. So maybe you're too focused on weight loss and you notice that other aspects of your life are kind of suffering. Like maybe you've been losing too much weight too quickly, and now you want to gain some strength because, again, you lost too much weight too quickly. So you need to understand that that goal has served its purpose. Those behaviors have served its purpose, and it's okay to switch to something else. The fact that you have likely done all these behaviors to get to that goal is great because it's probably really ingrained in you. So at this point, you can switch to another goal and try different things. And at the same time, if you did not achieve your goal because it was too hard, this isn't a failure. This is not a failure at all. It's simply a learning moment for you. It's a learning tool that, hey, this just didn't work out for me. And the most important thing to ask yourself about this is why didn't it happen? Why didn't it work? It's a learning opportunity that you can find out a lot about moving into the next portion, your pivot. It can really help to guide that pivot towards being healthier and improving your fitness. So um, maybe something you learned, say you were trying to lose weight and you noticed that you crave certain foods at different times of day, and it's very hard for you to stay on a diet if you're around these certain types of food in a different day. So that could be a learning thing. You might have to change your environment a little bit. Or maybe you were working out really hard and you said to yourself, this is too hard. Instead of gaining energy, now I have lost too much energy. So you didn't fail the goal. You're not maybe entirely burnt out. You might just be doing too much too soon. So having that pivot in your back pocket, using that pivot when you need it is crucial. And you will need it, and you will need it frequently. And this is something you should constantly ask yourself um, is it time to pivot my goals? Is it time to pivot towards a different goal? Is it time to pivot towards a slightly lesser goal or even harder goal? You can push yourself even further, but you aren't failing if you do need to pivot because it will happen. You're just learning something crucial there. So the next idea that is really, really important, and this idea that we need to ask ourselves when improving our fitness and health is what brought us here? Why are you here today? Why is your blood work very bad? Why are you now a type 2 diabetic? Why are you overweight? What led to this? And this is where we really need to check our ego at the side. We need to check our ego at the door because if you can get through this section and this idea, you can really make some good improvements into your fitness and health routine. So, the reason why you're here, it isn't magic. This didn't just happen poof one day. You gained a bunch of weight, or poof one day your blood sugar was too high, or poof one day your body hurts because you were very weak and didn't take care of your health. This happened over a very long portion of time. This happened from years of not doing something. So one of the key aspects of this section is to remind yourself that it took you a very long time to get here and it wasn't magic. So just like getting out of it, it's going to take a decent amount of time to get out of it. Maybe not as long as it took to get there, but it's also not going to be magic. You did things that led you to this, and now we need to do the opposite of those things to lead you away from it. So, weight loss, if somebody's overweight, you likely overate on food. You may have drank too much alcohol. You didn't exercise, didn't get enough sleep, didn't monitor your calories. Those things happened over a long portion of time. And guess what? You're going to have to do the exact opposite now to ultimately undo it. It's not magic. So you're going to have to drink less. You're going to have to eat less food. You're going to have to exercise a little bit. You don't have to do all these things on one day, but it is crucial to know that the reason why you're here, it isn't magic. It happened for a very, very specific thing. And that is very unique to your life. I would highly recommend going and sitting down with some paper and writing down what specifically brought me here today. And during this time, you can also kind of check your why again. Earlier in the podcast, we talked about understanding the reason why you're doing something, and you can kind of tie this into what led me here was X, Y, Z. I overate, I did all this, blah, blah, blah. And my why is also to lose weight so I can be healthier for my kids, be healthier for my family, be healthier for myself. You can tie those in together. But the ego check here is really asking yourself, am I willing to admit that I did some things that led me to this poor health outcome or this weakness in my body? Am I willing to admit I did something wrong? And the last portion of this is just touching on the fact of your why or reason you're getting into fitness and health needs to be bigger than your ego. And what I mean by this is that your ego will likely take over when you start asking yourselves these types of questions and think like, oh, it wasn't my fault, or oh, I was in that situation, and that's what made me gain a bunch of weight, or oh, I had a death in the family and that made me gain a bunch of weight, right? Or oh, I wasn't able to, the gym just closed down because of COVID, and that's why I gained a bunch of weight. And yeah, all of these things might be true to some degree, but there's something that you could have done, something that you could have taken responsibility for that you didn't. And if your why is bigger than your ego, it's going to trump this idea that you aren't responsible. If your ego takes over, it's going to think that I'm not responsible for any of this. It wasn't my fault. But if your why is bigger, as in, I want to lose weight, it doesn't even matter how big your ego is, because at the end of the day, that why is going to take over and you're going to take in action those specific things to make you healthier and fitter in your life. That's super important. Again, thank you so much for watching so far. If you are liking this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. We're helping you in 2023 improve your fitness, health, and overall lifestyle, regardless of your current abilities in life. You could be a senior, beginner, anyone. We love having you here. Thanks so much for joining me. We got a few more points. So this next one is going to be talking about how to make change in your life easier and also more pleasurable. As in, if we're trying to be healthier in our life, how do we make it easier and more pleasurable? And this is going to give some very promising stuff when it comes to making better habits, because if you're able to make a habit easier, more pleasurable, how often are you going to do it? Much likely more than if it's not easier, not pleasurable. So when we're talking about making changes for our health and fitness, this is really, really crucial, because as we discussed earlier, sustainability is key. If we do these things long term and consistency, um, that sustainability aspect is going to lead towards health and fitness and abundance for literally the rest of our life. So we're going to first talk about making stuff easier. And uh, these ideas of making fitness and health easier are going to be tied into our environment. And as you'll realize shortly, environment is super crucial to manipulate to the best of your abilities when trying to be the most fit and health in your life. And this is because if you set your environment better, it's almost like you take some of the guesswork out, you take some of the drive, you take some of the motivation and desire out of it, because the environment's set up that way. Um, so, and the way I want to describe this and give you a first thought is, how many times have you come home and maybe your kid brings home a bunch of cookies from school, or your wife or your spouse brings home a cake from work, or anyone in your life just brings home something that's a dessert or treat, puts it right in the middle of the counter when you get home? It's the first thing you see. You set up your environment to see that, right? How likely are you to go grab a piece of cake, grab a piece of cookie, eat some of these things? Probably pretty likely, because your environment's set up that way. That's the first thing you're seeing. And it's a delicious treat. It tastes good. It's high calorie. It's literally made to get you to want to eat more. So there's a lot of different things like that. And we're going to give you some ideas to hopefully kind of flip the narrative to have your environment work in your favor. So first one, making your environment easier. These are just some ideas. You need to brainstorm these for yourselves, but you could set your shoes by your bed, or your door in the morning when you are going to bed at nighttime. So then in the morning, if you work out in the morning, you can see those shoes right by your bed or right by your door. Grab them. That's the first thing you see. You put them on, and hopefully you get right into the gym. So that's one way to make your environment easier. You could set a water bottle by your bedside in the morning or right by your sink. So instead of going and getting that really sugary, high calorie coffee from Starbucks, maybe the first thing since you see that water bottle, fill your water bottle up. I do this every morning. I put a water bottle right by the sink, 2 bottles of water right when I wake up every single day. Super, super easy. Another way you could um, make it a little easier to be more active throughout the day is to actually set some alarms. So instead of forgetting and letting time get ahead of you, if you set maybe an alarm at 11 o'clock and then another alarm at 1 o'clock, and use those as kind of your movement breaks. You can get up, you can go walk around, you could even get a light workout. You could go talk and walk to um, your favorite lunch spot and even bring a friend with too. Setting alarms for movement breaks makes it easier because, again, you take some of the guesswork out. You take some of that mental fatigue of deciding, hey, I'm going to work out. At the beginning, I talked about junk food, bringing junk food in the home. Guess what? You can make it easier on yourself by not bringing junk food into the home at all. How easier would it be to diet if you literally had no cookies, no cakes, no, what's another one? Potato chips, no high calorie, easily uh, eatable food in your home? It'd be almost effortless, right? Uh, how hard is it to overeat on healthy food? If that's the only food you have in your home and you don't bring in any food, you're making it so easy on yourself because you're literally setting yourself up to just eat out those things. So you can make it very, very easier. And that's kind of one of the things I want you to consider is, how do I make this easier on myself? How do I make these health behaviors that I know are good for me easier to myself long term? In addition to this, though, we can also make it pleasurable. And pleasurable just means it's more um, easier is mainly like time and convenience, but pleasurable is like actually somewhat enjoyable. So some ways we can do this is, if you go to the gym, bring your music to the gym. A lot of people do this, but some people don't, and it's a good idea. Bring some music to the gym. Listen to your favorite tunes. I like listening to podcasts. That's what I listen to at the gym. Have something to listen to, or maybe even watch at the gym. Maybe if you're on the treadmill and you're walking, just place your phone right on the deck and watch some Netflix, watch some shows. It's easy. You get some of your Netflix knocked out, get some of your cardio knocked out, you're good to go. Maybe afterwards you have an occasional healthy treat. You go get yourself a smoothie, or you go get a protein bar at a local protein shack, or a supplement store with one of your friends. Again, I wouldn't do this all the time because your body's going to start having to need that to get to the gym. But every once in a while, having that little source of extra motivation, a little bit of something to make it more pleasurable, is super, super crucial. Bringing friends is one of the easiest ways to make it more pleasurable to go to the gym. Not only are they a great source of accountability, but instead of having it just working out and it's like, oh, this sucks, it's going to suck with your friend. You guys are going to kind of collectively pull some of that suckiness of working out and being healthy together. Maybe meal prep sucks for you and you don't like doing it, so you do it with a friend. It's more enjoyable, it's social, but you'll also get that accountability aspect too, which I think is very, very crucial. Um, Special drink during a workout. One of the things I love before workouts is some coffee. It's got a little bit of caffeine in it, so it spikes me up, but also it really tastes good. And it's something that I really enjoy before working out. So this is something that I do to make the gyms more pleasurable, going to the gym more pleasurable. Um, Also, too, this is another thing I just thought of when it comes to like eating vegetables. I feel like people just don't like vegetables. Maybe there's some people out there, but I feel like just vegetables have a bad rep. One of the things I do to make vegetables more pleasurable to eat is just add a little bit of salt and pepper. It's nothing crazy, right? I don't add a bunch of oil. It's a lot of extra calories, but a little extra seasoning, if it makes it taste a little better, can go a long way. And if you're worried about like sodium and all these things, you're looking at what are the biggest levers here. If it's a little iffy on my health to put some salt and pepper from whatever preservatives or sodium on my vegetables, the benefits of eating the vegetable is going to far outweigh that. And that's kind of how I look at a lot of things. You're focusing on the big levers that matter. So, how can you make healthier behaviors easier in your life, making it more seamless? So, setting up your environment better. And also, how can you make it more pleasurable? Something you can take a note and think for yourself. So, in addition to this, we can two more things here. This next one is talking about enjoyability of what you're doing in the gym or your diet, and if it's something that is really something you can imagine yourself sticking to. As we've talked about this numerous times through the podcast. Sustainability has got to be one of the biggest things that I can push to leading you, down the road into 2023. So you got to be sustainable. And this idea of sustainability kind of comes back to effectiveness versus enjoyability. So, which is more important to people when they first start working out? Usually, if something is effective, that's going to be what people pick. For example, if there's a certain diet that was very effective for somebody to lose a bunch of weight, and that person sees that person lose a bunch of weight, they're likely going to pick that because it got them their desired results. And hey, that person lost weight. I really want to lose weight. So I'm going to now do that goal because it's effective clearly towards that one person. But is it enjoyable for you? Maybe that person was eating a carnivore diet, which I wouldn't recommend, but maybe they were eating an all meat diet and they lost a bunch of weight. But what if you like vegetables? What if you really like vegetables? What if you also really don't like meat that much? Maybe you like plant-based other options such as, or I should say, vegetarian options like eggs or cheese and stuff, but you don't like meat that much. So you don't enjoy it, but you're going to do it more for effectiveness. That's a huge issue. You got to pick something you enjoy because enjoyability leads to adherence, and adherence leads to long-term results. As we talked about, we're trying to be healthy, fit, strong for our entire life, for whatever goals and reasons why we're doing it. And the best way to do that is to do things that are sustainable. We can do it long term. You know, okay, maybe you could lose 10 pounds on doing carnivore, but if you lose 10 pounds and in a month you hate it and then you gain back all your weight, was it really worth it? That's kind of something I want to give in to an example. Another example of this that be in your life of effectiveness versus enjoyability is running. Running is actually a really good way to lose weight. It burns a lot of calories. It improves your cardiovascular health. It improves your heart health, your blood sugar control, all these different things. It's great for your body. But a lot of people hate running, and that's okay. There's a lot of other great forms of physical activity instead of running. But if you see somebody who loses a bunch of weight running, or they get really fit running, and you're like, man, I don't like running, but I'm going to do it. Are you going to stick with it? No. Are you going to long term be physically active at that point then? No. So just because it was effective for that one person doesn't mean it's going to be effective for you. It could be effective for you, but also too, enjoyability is a huge thing. If you don't enjoy it, you're not going to stick with it. You're not going to be healthy fit for a very long term. So one of the other most important things too that we need to consider is this idea with our identity, and we need to be flexible with our identity and have an identity shift in who we are as an individual. So when people are first starting out in their fitness and health goals, they want to lose some weight, they want to gain some strength. A lot of people are still in the same identity of where they were. And what I mean by that is that they want to change. They feel like they want that change. They maybe even could do some of those things to change. But deep down, they don't feel like somebody who does those changes. So maybe they're a little self conscious when going to the gym. That's because their identity hasn't changed yet to somebody who goes to the gym. Um, Another example of this might be somebody who's used to eating fast food every day, and they start to try to add some salads and maybe diet a little bit more. So add some salads into their lunches. Maybe they don't eat quite as much out to eat, or they don't go out for fast food quite as much. Their identity they may still be kind of iffy on that idea of not going out to eat as much because their identity is still based off of somebody who goes out to eat every day. So that's one of the biggest things I need you to have in your mind, is that you can change this. You can and should change this. It's literally saying to myself, I'm somebody who cares about my health now. I'm somebody who consistently works out now. I'm somebody who doesn't go to eat fast food for lunch because I want to live a long and healthy life. Um, this takes some work, and that's something I'm going to say time and time again. All these things, sustainability, consistency isn't just a physical thing; it's a mental thing too. This is a mental shift in your identity that needs to take place almost every single day. And even for myself, I've been working out for years. I've been doing, what I think is hopefully health promoting behaviors for years. Um, this is something that still takes work for me. It's a daily thing, and I daily identity check of basically rewriting who you were and who you want to be. So this is why the why, or the reason why we're starting things, is so powerful, because it can really guide your identity shift. So let's give an example. We went back to that why at the beginning of the podcast. We talked about, I want to lose weight because I want to finally fit into a size large shirt, and I've never been able to do that. So you can ask yourself, you know, what would somebody who fits into a size large shirt do from somebody who fits into a size XL large shirt? What would be somebody who takes care of their health, takes care of their weight, so they can do those different things? Those are going to give you some really good behavior changes that you can lead to. So some of the most important things to remember about this is sustainability is key. So that's got to be one of the biggest things that you can change in your life. In addition to this, you need to do something you can enjoy for a really long term. Thanks so much for joining me for this video. I'm going to link some videos down in the pinned comment that you can use to improve your life and fitness. Thanks so much for